Another brick fan with a Star Wars Microfighter set. This is ATAT versus Tauntaun. This is set 75298, was released in March 2021, has 205 pieces, 2 minifigures, and cost about $20 when it was released. This is a 2-pack of Microfighters that includes an ATAT with an ATAT driver, and a Tauntaun with Luke Skywalker riding it. Both of these look pretty good, and each of them carries a stud shooter. Let's go ahead and build these 2 Microfighters up and then take a closer look at them. This is a 2-pack of Microfighters, which they tend to release about 1 or 2 of these every single year. At least they have for a while. This is Series 8. I think both of these look really good, and interestingly, the Tauntaun here is just about to scale. Most of these are to this more the scale like this AT-AT here, where we see that the minifigure is about the height of the leg here of the AT-AT, which is obviously way out of scale. But the Tauntaun here is probably just about the right scale for the minifigure. So I thought that was a first time I've seen the Microfighters this way. But let's take a closer look at each one of these individually. Starting with the Tauntaun, as you can see, he's got these small arms here in the front that are just done with these 1x1 rounded with a clip here. There's a tail here in the back that is on a ball joint, so you do have side to side and a little bit of up and down motion. There's a pack here on the back. There's a clip on the side here. In this case, is holding a pair of binoculars. On the other side, we have a lightsaber, and this is Luke Skywalker, as you may have guessed. Of course, he has a stud shooter here. Let's take a closer look at Luke. So here's a close-up look of Luke. He's got the hat on here with a goggles, which can be put across his face or on top of the helmet. As you can see, the face is printed on a white minifigure head here, which I think that print turned out quite clean and looks really good. The printing here on the winter uniform that he's wearing is nice with the gray legs, the crosshatch pattern down here. He's got a belt. It looks a little, there's some silver things on here as well. Looking at the back, we of course have some pretty good continuation of that crosshatch printing, and as you notice, his alternate face kind of shows through here, but here we have a more smiling face for Luke. Also on the back to the Tauntaun, you see that he has these 2 legs that do not move. Those are fixed. I like the use of this tan color for some toes. And then you can also see his horns here in tan come down around. He has got a harness on him and the saddle done in the brown here, and fits the minifigure quite easily. So let's take a closer look at the ATAT. As I mentioned before, the ATAT is more to what I would expect of a normal Microfighter scale. The minifigure is obviously much larger than they would be. As you can see when I talked about it earlier, the minifigure is pretty much the height, actually a little taller than the leg of the ATAT, which is, obviously way out of scale here. The minifigure, let's take a closer look, also has a stud shooter, so you could have Luke and this AT-AT driver or pilot shoot it out. He's in this sand blue color with the gray, which I thought looks pretty good. You can see the instrumentation there on his chest. It looks like he's wearing a harness around him, maybe for a parachute, which you'd think of a pilot be wearing. He's got this helmet here with the Imperial symbols on either temple there. It's slightly different than a Stormtrooper helmet. I thought it turned out nicely in this gray. And then of course we get the traditional angry clone head here. The back has continuation of the printing there on the vest. So the more monitors or devices that go with that. And then of course the back of the helmet's pretty plain here, as you can see. As far as the AT-AT itself, just like the Tauntaun's tail, the head of the AT-AT is on a ball joint, so it has quite a bit of movement. A lot of ways you can position it. A couple of printed pieces. There's this printed control panel here, and then the print for the cockpit of the AT-AT itself. As far as the legs go, they move just a little bit, and they are using a clip piece down here so that the feet can move. So you can position this just a little bit. Not a lot of articulation because how tight the build is. So not a lot of movement, but there is enough to show the legs moving. Here's the back, which is just built up with this slope piece here. Dropping the pilot in the top here, and there you have your AT-AT. Overall, a good set. I think that the price is fairly decent. We get 205 pieces for $20, so essentially 10 cents per piece. The Microfighters generally go for $10 each, so a 2-pack for $20 seems to fit right in that normal price range for Microfighters. 2 solid minifigures here. You obviously have Luke Skywalker, who's not super recognizable. I like how they did the face printing around a white minifigure head, because that shows that he's wearing a lot of layers of clothing to stay warm in the Hoth environment, which I think is appropriate. Nice to get his lightsaber, of course, with this. And then the interesting thing on the Tauntaun is he really doesn't have a good, since the Tauntaun is so big in front of him, he's sitting so low on that, it'd be hard for him to aim and shoot that stud shooter away, but still not a bad effect overall. As I pointed out earlier, the Tauntaun's about to scale, maybe just a little bit small in comparison to the minifigure, but certainly much closer to scale than most Microfighters. Like that AT-AT is definitely about 10 times smaller than it would be, probably even more than that. Hope you've enjoyed my thoughts on this Star Wars Microfighter set. I'm going to get started on my next video, and until then, happy building. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button and be sure to subscribe to see more of my content. I've left a link to my other Star Wars reviews up here on the screen.